Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into a really interesting paper called Lightweight Models for Emotional Analysis in Video.
Yeah, this one caught my eye too.
What's really compelling is how it tackles, understanding emotions in video efficiently. We're talking real-world video, not just lab stuff.
Right, the kind of messy video you get from phones or webcams.
Exactly, and they do it with a pretty smart setup. A lightweight MobileNet V4 for the spatial side processing each frame.
Mm-hmm.
And then this multi-scale 3D MLP mixer thing for looking at how things change over time, the temporal aspect.
It's a really neat combination. The big challenge always is balancing accuracy with computational cost.
Right.
Especially for mobile or embedded applications.
Totally. You want something that works well but doesn't, drain your battery in 5 minutes or require a massive server.
Precisely. And that's where this paper shines. It's trying to hit that sweet spot. It's directly addressing the kind of challenges you see in competitions like ABAW affective behavior analysis in the wild.
Yeah, the ABAW competition. That's known for being tough, right? Because it's all about analyzing emotions in the wild.
Exactly. Uncontrolled lighting, weird angles, people making spontaneous faces. It's hard.
So what specific emotion tasks does this paper tackle within that ABAW context?
Well, they cover quite a bit. There's valence-arousal, which is basically mapping emotion onto positive and negative and intensity scales.
Okay, VA estimation. Got it.
And action unit detection, pinpointing specific facial muscle movements. Think like raising an eyebrow, pulling a lip corner.
Super detailed stuff.
Yeah. And also emotional mimicry intensity. How much someone is mirroring an emotion. And they also mention ambivalence or hesitancy recognition.
So understanding those kind of mixed signals, wow, that's ambitious.
It definitely covers a lot of ground in effective computing. And, to really get why their approach is interesting, it helps to think about how we got here with computer vision models.
Right, the history matters.
Yeah, we went from handcrafting features decades ago.
Where researchers basically guessed what parts of an image were important.
Exactly. To deep learning, CNNs, where the models learn the features themselves. But then for mobile, efficiency became key. That's where models like the original MobileNet came in.
Using tricks like depth-wise separable convolution.
You got it. Reducing the computation. And MobileNet V4 is the next step in that evolution, specifically the small variant they use here.
Okay, so let's break down this MobileNet V4 variant. What makes it special for this kind of task?
So the paper points out two main things. First, these universal inverted bottleneck blocks, UIBs.
UIBs?
Yeah. Think of them as flexible building blocks. Instead of having lots of different specialized layers, a UIB block can kind of adapt to do different jobs efficiently within one structure. It streamlines things.
Okay, more adaptable. And the second thing?
That's mobile multi-query attention, or mobile MQA. Attention mechanisms are great. They let the model focus on important image parts.
But computationally heavy, usually.
Often, yes. Especially for mobile. Mobile MQA is a way to speed that up significantly, apparently by sharing some information cleverly during the attention process. Makes attention practical on, smaller devices.
So adaptable blocks and faster attention. Sounds good. And they didn't just design this by hand, right? You mentioned NAS.
Neural architecture search, yeah. It's basically using algorithms to automatically search through tons of possible network designs to find the best ones for specific goals, like accuracy and speed on certain hardware.
Like an automated chef finding the perfect recipe.
Huh. Yeah, that's a good analogy. The fact they use NAS, even looking at specific hardware like Google's Edge TPU, really shows they're serious about making this work in practice.
Right. So they feed standard size images, 224 by 224.
Yep, into this MobileNet V4. And crucially, it's pre-trained on EffectNet, a big emotion data set.
Which gives it a head start on understanding emotional features.
Exactly. And then for training on the specific ABAW tasks, they mostly freeze the early MobileNet layers.
Why freeze them? Keep things efficient.
Efficiency is part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
But also, those early layers learn very general visual stuff, edges, textures. Freezing them preserves that general knowledge and lets the training focus on tuning the later, more task-specific layers for emotion recognition. It avoids retraining the basics.
Okay, makes sense. Leverage what's already learned. So MobileNet V4 handles the seeing part efficiently for each frame, but emotions aren't static. How do they handle the over time part? That's the TAM, the temporal aggregation module.
Correct. The multi-scale 3D MLP mixer-based TAM. It's a bit of a mouthful.
Definitely. Let's unpack MLT Mixer first. How does that work for temporal stuff? Is it like an RNN or a 3D CNN?
It's actually quite different. RNNs process sequences step by step. 3D CNNs use 3D filters. Both can be heavy. The MLP mixer mainly uses standard multi-layer perceptrons, just stacks of fully connected layers.
How does that capture time?
The 3D part is key. They apply these MLPs not just spatially within a feature map, but also across the time dimension, across the sequence of feature maps from MobileNet v4. So it learns relationships between frames that way.
Interesting. And multi-scale, why look at different resolutions?
Right. So the TAM takes the feature maps from MobileNet v4 at 3 different sizes, 28 by 28, 14 by 14, and 7 by 7. High, mid, and low resolution, basically.
Why is that useful for emotions?
Well, think about it. Some emotional cues are subtle, quick facial twitches. You might see those best at high resolution over a short time.
Like a micro-expression.
Exactly. Others are broader changes, like posture shifts or overall facial configurations, which might be clearer at lower resolutions observed over a longer period. Processing multiple scales lets the model capture both.
Ah, okay. So it gets the fine details and the bigger picture changes over time.
Pretty much. Each scale's MLP mixer learns the temporal patterns at that resolution. Then, a final fully connected layer takes all that aggregated info and makes the prediction like the AU intensity or the VA values for the whole sequence.
Clever. A way to model time without the usual heavy machinery of RNNs or full 3D convolutions.
Exactly. It seems to be a more lightweight approach to temporal modeling.
Okay, so theory sounds good. How did it actually perform in their experience on those ABAW tasks? Let's start with action unit detection.
Right. They used a big data set, over 2.6 million frames, annotated for 12 specific AUs. Things like inner brow raiser, cheek raiser, jaw drop, very specific muscle movements.
And they split it into train, validation, test sets. The metric was average F1 score.
Yep, average F1, which, balances precision, how many of the AUs it flagged were correct, and recall to define most of the actual AUs present. It's a standard metric for this kind of multi-label classification.
Got it. Then for valence-arousal.
They use the AFWILD2 database. Again, very challenging, lots of videos, lots of subjects. Valence and arousal were rated continuously between 9-1 and 1 by multiple experts.
The metric there was CCC, concordance correlation coefficient.
Yeah, CCC. It's stricter than just standard correlation because it checks if the model's predictions not only correlate with the ground truth, but also have a similar mean and variance. Measures agreement more robustly.
Okay. And emotional mimicry intensity. That HumiVid Mimic 2 data set sounds cool, people actually trying to mimic emotions.
It is pretty unique. Over 30 hours of recordings, plus the participants rated their own mimicry performance. The data set even provided pre-extracted features, facial and audio.
Oh, interesting. So they could potentially fuse modalities later.
Potentially, yeah. For this task, they evaluated using Pearson's correlation coefficient, averaged across 6 different emotions like admiration, amusement, joy, etc. Basically, how well the model's predictions match the self-ratings.
Right. And they also did ambivalence hesitancy, but fewer details in the excerpt they saw.
Correct.
So the big question, how did their models stack up, especially on, say, the action unit detection? Table 3 seemed key there.
Yeah, Table 3 is interesting. Comparing their approach on the AFWILD2 validation set for AUs against other methods like RegNet VData and EMODI-FNet, their model, even with just a single mixer layer in the TAM, actually got the highest average F1 score.
Really? The simplest version did best.
In their experiments, yes. Adding more mixer layers, like 2 or 3, didn't improve the F1 score further. Sometimes it was slightly lower.
Huh. That kind of goes against the bigger is always better idea in deep learning sometimes.
It really does. It highlights that finding the right model complexity for the task and data is crucial. Sometimes a more focused, lightweight approach just works better. It's a strong result for their design.
It definitely validates their lightweight philosophy. Okay, let's transition to our novel notions segment. Thinking beyond the paper, what research ideas does this spark?
Well, building directly on their lightweight theme, one idea is to push the MobileNet v4 optimization even further, but specifically for emotion.
How so? Like a custom NAS?
Exactly. Could we tailor the neural architecture search to explicitly prioritize features we know are important for affect? Maybe use saliency maps showing where the model looks for emotions to guide the search.
So the NAS wouldn't just optimize for general accuracy and speed, but for like emotion-specific accuracy and speed.
Precisely. You might end up with an even tinier, faster model that's hyper-specialized for reading emotions. Think about running that efficiently on really small sensors or wearables.
Yeah, that could be huge for edge AI applications. Okay, that's one direction. What else?
The other obvious path, especially given the mimicry dataset having audio features, is multimodal fusion.
Right, combining the visual analysis with audio.
Yeah, they have this strong, lightweight visual backbone. How could we fuse its outputs with audio features? Maybe those Wave2Vec 2.0 features mentioned in an equally lightweight way.
Maybe some kind of lightweight attention mechanism to weigh audio versus video, depending on the situation.
That's a great thought. If someone's face is turned away but they're speaking emotionally, the audio becomes more important, and vice versa. A lightweight fusion module could learn those dynamics.
Which could make the whole system much more robust in noisy, real-world situations where one modality might be, compromised.
Exactly. You're leveraging complementary information. This paper sets a great visual foundation, and exploring efficient fusion techniques seems like a really promising next step.
Absolutely. So this paper really pushes forward the idea of efficient, practical emotion analysis from video. A solid contribution, especially for anyone thinking about real-time applications.
Definitely tackles those in-the-wild challenges head on.
If you want all the technical details, the link to the paper is in the description. Definitely worth a read.
For sure.
And maybe a final thought to leave everyone with. As video becomes just everywhere, and models like this get better and more efficient, how might they actually change our interactions? Could we see genuinely empathetic AI in things like education or healthcare running right on our devices?
It's a fascinating question about the future of human-computer interaction.
Indeed. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.